everybody, Tyrone TG3 here. Pokemon Horizons, episode 34. This episode is titled Respective Departures. So, this is the episode where Diana basically is like, yo, I'm bouncing. Which, again, I said in the last review, Diana is not one for groups. She said that already. And I put a lot of praise on how they've handled Diana's character. She didn't overstay her welcome, while at the same time, she didn't feel undercut. She didn't feel like she only showed up for plot-related episodes and then left. Because I didn't want a situation where it's like, oh, she's leaving, but I have no emotional attachment to this leave whatsoever because she only showed up in episodes where it's like, oh, we found some lore on Lucius. Oh, there she is. No, she showed up when it was necessary, and then she showed up in fun moments. She showed up when they had, like, the curry, I believe. She showed up in moments where they were just chilling, like when they had their breakfast in the morning. She's just sipping tea, and she's chilling with her. Like, she had legitimate episodes that showed off who she can be as a character and as a plot relevance. And I like that. They balanced her. They handled her with care, and even though she's Liko's grandmother, she doesn't shove that into us. And I think that's why Liko can accept that she's leaving too. She's not like heartbroken or dependent on her grandmother staying. She's like, no, my grandma does that. She just leaves. It doesn't even make her a bad person. That's just how she moves. So I like that we have a progressive, natural understanding of the character. But enough about them. Let's get to the interesting part of this episode. So, the interesting part of this episode deals with Amitheio. He is the interesting one because he's training with somebody who knew Diana from the past, Humber. And before I want to discuss Humber's like weird little thing, his hair in between his eyes, sometimes it opens up, sometimes it doesn't. It's so weird. I don't know. I just wanted to point that out. Anyway, Humber decides to train Amitheio. Well, Amitheio forces him to train him. And Humber's like, okay, let's box then. I'm not gonna hold back either. I'm messing you up. We boxing. Dude, this battle is so good. Everything I said in the last episode, and I find this appropriate. Diana's training Liko and Roy, while Humber's training Amitheio. But it's like night and day. Everything I complained about in that last review literally gets flipped here. That's what makes me more mad about it. The last episode kind of underplayed it, and they didn't really gain much. Yeah, Liko gets a little strategy, woohoo, but this is the episode that really shows that Amitheio is getting stronger. Like, hell yeah. Look at this. Cerulege is fighting Dust Noir, right? And, like, he can't get in any long-range attacks. Long-range Psycho Cuts aren't working because he already has a response for them. He's shadow balling them and blocking them and shadow punching them away. But he's using his long arms to, like, grab them in and getting all up in Cerulege's face. And Cerulege even tries to use the Phantom Dive move, but it doesn't work. He grabs him out of the Phantom Dive move. He like grabs him right out of it and then punches him. Or he'll use Shadow Ball, and then when he uses Shadow Ball, he uses it not to hit Cerulege. It's a distraction so that in the smoke he can just grab him and reel him in and knock his ass. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. This is good. This is what I'm talking about. And it forces Amitheio to fight differently. So when he grabs him the next time, instead of taking the hit, Cerulege like grapples the arm and he's like holding him down. And then when he holds him down, he tries to shake him off. And when he does, he throws him. And when he throws him, he like sinks into the ground using the Phantom Dive move, only to show up from behind and hit him. I'm like, yes! Amitheio's getting better. He's strategizing. He's learning his environment. He's fighting in a different style. Even Hamber's like, you never fight this way. This is not you. And Amitheio's like, yo, I'm about that life right now. I want to get stronger no matter what. And I love that he like keeps finding his strategies. For example, he winds up using Psycho Cut again and it gets blocked. And then he gets hit with Shadow Punch, but he gets hit with Shadow Punch on purpose this time so he can activate the break armor. And when he activates the break armor ability, he gets faster and like goes in. I'm like, this is it. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. And the animation. Oh my goodness, this battle looks so good. Oh my goodness. And it really shows that Amber and Amitheio have like this very special relationship where he views him as like it's a very teacher student situation, and it's so dark. And I love this. It's like watching, it's like if Uncle Iroh was like mean and trained Zuko. It's like, yeah, they're villains. They're both villains. But it's very clear that Humber still respects Amitheio. Because I was afraid that after Spinel and the other villains were going to take over, I thought Amitheio was just going to be cast aside. It's like, oh, you're not even worth the Team Explorer's time. We're not even going to give you the time of day. We're going to focus mostly on the villains who are actually more competent. That's what I thought was going to happen. Thankfully, they didn't do that. They are focused on Amitheio getting stronger. Amitheio may be the weakest of the explorers, but he's the most consistent about wanting to get stronger. The others are more or less satisfied with where they are, strength-wise. They're actually kind of cocky about it. Amitheio knows he can get better. He aims to get better. He does everything he can to get better, even if it results in him being out of character. And you can clearly see that his thirst for power, while it's a bit dangerous, definitely shows his drive as a trainer. And I like that. I love that. So then obviously the battle ends with Humber winning because he terrestrializes. And because of that, he's way stronger. And I love that it doesn't just end with Humber terrestrializing Dust Noir into a ghost type and then just knocking it out with one move. No, he uses the Shadow Ball. Cerule Edge blocks it, and it's stronger now because ghost type move. But once the smoke clears, the Shadow Punch comes in and knocks Cerule Edge out. And you can definitely feel the impact of that Shadow Punch. It is really strong. And I'm glad that Humber wins, because Humber hasn't really had a finished fight in Pokemon Horizons. Most of his fights end up ending like unconclusively. Here we got a fight that finishes. And I'm glad that they didn't, like, once he got that hit in, I thought they were going to end the fight right there. But, like, you definitely got stronger, Amitheio. I congratulate you for your efforts. No, they didn't. Humber still had to humble him and be like, yo, you got stronger, but you still got a long way to go. And I'm glad they properly end the fight with Dust Noir beating Cerule Edge. It really shows that, okay, he does take defeat and he's getting stronger for it. And Humber gives him the Terra Orb. Now Amitheio can terrestrialize now. Yes, that is a awesome step towards getting stronger. And every fight that he's been in with Freed, he hasn't been able to terrestrialize at all. In fact, Freed terrestrializes Charizard, which gives him the upper hand in their last fight. And then he ends up getting beat by Rayquaza the fight after that. Here we see Amitheio is legitimately getting stronger in this fight. We see legitimately, not even just with the Terra Orb, he's getting stronger with his strategies. He's learning his opponents. He's fighting in a different way. He's doing what he can to progress as a character. And that's far more awry and more entertaining and more engaging than fucking Sprigatito still knowing Scratch. That's what makes me more frustrated about it. And part of me thought this was going to happen, and I'm so mad it didn't. After Humber gives the Terra Orb to Amitheio, Diana gives Liko an item. It's just Diana's journal. Yep, it's Diana's journal. That's what. How cool would it have been? How cool would it have been if Diana gave her the Terra Orb? She's like, you're headed to Paldea anyway. Here, I'm going to entrust this to you. That would have been so cool. The parallels. Diana gives Liko an item to terrestrialize. Humber gives Amitheio an item to terrestrialize. The old generation giving an item to the current generation so that they can get stronger. Oh, it would have been like a marriage book made in heaven. But no. Here's this funky ass book of all of my old. Here's that. You can use that. And yeah, the book is gonna help her probably in the future. But how freaking cool would it have been if she had got a Terra Orb? That would have been, that would have been so gangsta. Oh, that would have been so hard, but no, they don't do it. Oh, that would have been so cool. but they don't do it. They don't do it, and I'm just wrecked. I'm wrecked. But Diana gets a party, and they kind of do a flash. I say this is a clip show, but it's not. In fact, they actually comment on that. They're like, sorry for the low budget. This was at last minute, and we don't have clips from everything else. We just have clips from the battle. So I had to use royalty-free images for the castle. So yeah, here you go. You got royalty-free images of the castle. And then after that, they show like a bunch of antiques. And I like that Ludlow makes this joke. He goes, you guys went into some crazy antiques. Get it? Because antics and antiques are almost the same word. I like that the music goes, oh, when that happens, and they all just look at him like, fine, whatever, I'll shut up. And then finally we get the clip, and then everybody partying, and yeah, it's nice. It's nice. And then Diana gets sent off, and after that, they all do their rising volt tackler, like we'll move forward towards the future situation. And it's a nice ending point, because they've been through a lot. During the arc in which Diana joined the team, which I want to say, let me check here, let me fact check this. I think Diana joined the team and I want to say she joined the team in As Long As I'm With My Companions or Tarapagos' Adventures. Did she join the team during Tarapagos' Adventures? I want to say yes. No, she did not. She joined it. I think she joined it in As Long As I'm With My Companions. Yeah, she does. Yeah, she joins it around that point. She officially joins the team at that point. So, from episode 27 up to 34, that's about, what, 7 episodes? Yeah, that's a 7-episode arc. Oh, she kind of joins during, yeah, it's like a 7 to 8 episode arc. That's fine. Yeah, that's a decent time with her being in the crew. And honestly, I think it's really good. I think it's really good that she was on the crew and she passed down like a lot of good moments with Liko. She gave Liko the belt for the ancient Pokemon. So, yay to that. I think this is a good stopping point. This is a good point for them. It's a good development episodes that they've had in a nice arc. And it goes to show that they've gotten progressively better as time passed. So, kudos to that. And, yeah, with that being said, we are officially, as the time of this recording, we are officially caught up to everything Pokemon Horizons-wise. Obviously, by the time this review comes out, we might wind up in the next episode. And that episode is titled A Duo in the Wilderness, Freed and Cap, which we got another Pikachu, Captain Pikachu and Freed episode. Honestly, I feel like we're due for a Molly episode or a Murdoch episode. They had their episodes before, but I wouldn't mind another one. Or at least some episode to develop the characters a little bit more, have them do something a little bit more useful. But with that being said, it's fine. No, I think it's been a while since we have a Freed episode. I think it's okay. Whatever. Overall, I wanted to talk about this last because I brought this up in the episode 31 review, or the episode 30 review, the issue as to why it is that a lot of people, not just me, but a lot of people have been doing this like, oh, I need to catch up on Horizon's deal, or I need to binge watch the rest of the Horizon episodes because once I missed an episode, I was so far behind. Realistically, I don't think, like, Horizons is a decent show. Pokemon Horizons is a good show. I always said I was going to review this series solely because I was interested in what a Pokemon series would be without Ash in it. And thankfully, it's doing well for the most part. I think at its worst, it's boring. At its best, it's really engaging. I think one of the problems is, though, has nothing to really do with Horizons. I think, unfortunately, what we've run into is it's the series after Ash. And obviously, a lot of people, even myself, are not willing to engage in a series that doesn't have Ash in it as much because Ash has this unfair advantage of being a part of most people's childhood. People grew up with him. The character's more than 20 plus years old. So obviously when he does something, there's more on the line. Personally, at least. Whereas when Liko does something, it's a part of that series. You can It has nothing to do with Ash's journey. It has nothing to do with our childhood. It has nothing to do with any personal stakes that we have in our lives. Ash, no matter what, like him, hate him, or whatever series he was in, was an integral piece to people's lives. So obviously, when people miss a Horizons episode, they don't feel as though they've missed out on much. Yeah, they miss it, but they know easily they can catch back up on it. Whereas in Pokemon, when you miss an episode, I think so many people in the community talked about it or were very in-depth with it that when you missed an episode, you felt like you missed something. And that's not to, like, downgrade Horizons. Clearly, there's kids that are growing up now that are growing up with Horizons. Young kids that are probably, like, just barely able to speak, or some kids that are really young, 5, 6, 7 years old, are growing up as this is their series. The Lico's becoming their version of Ash Ketchum. They're gaining memories with this series. So they're definitely going to hold this to a higher degree, but we're definitely seeing a generation shift. And anime has no, like, stranger to this dynamic before. Yu-Gi-Oh!, Beyblades, Digimon, other series have done this thing before. I think the difference is that Pokemon held on to Ash so long that the transition period is hard. And people drop off of series all the time. I dropped off Yu-Gi-Oh! After a while. Most people dropped off Beyblades and Digimon as well. But I think the difference here is that when you did that, it was very early on and those series didn't last as long. Whereas Pokemon, if you drop off, it's so many years. So many years. Even people who start off with, say, Diamond and Pearl or Best Wishes, they went back and they can watch older episodes with Ash in them and catch up to where they are. Here, there is no backwards. This is all, like, what you're getting is what you're getting. So if you miss it, there's no, like, personal level of attachment to it. And that sucks because, again, this isn't the fault of Horizons. This is literally just its position. That's what it's come down to. And I think, again, with Horizons, at its best, it can be an amazing, amazing plot-relevant, large amount of lore with, like, fun adventures. At its worst, it's just a standard episode. And Pokemon's been no stranger to filler or standard episodes. I think the difference here is that when people miss an episode of Horizons, instead of going, "Oh crap, I missed that episode, I need to catch up and talk with the community about it," once they miss this one, it's like, meh, I just need to catch back up. And then we're also in an era now where the internet can just pump out episodes and we just watch them instantly. You gotta understand, even back when Terrell was reviewing Best Wishes, it wasn't just, oh, this episode came out. It was, this episode came out in its raw form. Then you had to wait for the subtitles to happen. And then for dub watchers, they had to wait years for it to get dubbed, or months in XY's case, or in Sun and Moon and Journey's case, several months. And in Netflix on Journey's case, you had to wait a bunch of months for a whole slew of episodes to get dubbed. And in Horizon's case, they literally had to wait a whole, I think, almost a year before we finally got some stuff. So Pokemon, even in like the outside of the community and distribution sense, has become a series where most people can just go, whatever, I'll just binge the rest and catch back up. That's what I wound up doing. That's what most people wound up doing. And I'm reviewing the series. So obviously a bunch of other people are taking that exact same route. And with that being said, that's one of the reasons I decided to even review this in arcs and chunks rather than review the episode by episode. The only time I do one episode reviews is when the series takes place within that one episode. But if events happen one after another and they're intertwined and connected, I'm allowed to go ahead and just wait a few weeks for the arc to come to a conclusion. Realistically, you can do that with any Pokemon series, but I chose this one specifically because that's how Horizons just simply moves. That's how most people view it as moving. It's a congruent story with a whole plot line to it that progresses with the to be continued at the end, much like the original Pokemon that came before it. But I think the difference here is that people don't feel like they're obligated to be as invested. Some people aren't even reviewing this series. Some people reviewed the series and stopped. Some people reviewed the series for like the first few episodes and then decided to go ahead and leave it alone. Some people are just watching the episodes casually, and some people dropped off of Pokemon completely altogether. But what am I going with this? Overall, Pokemon Horizons is a good show. I think it's a good show, and I think that's what also has led to the lack of engagement of it. Not just because it's a good show. I think because Pokemon Horizons is in good hands, so it doesn't leave that much discourse. If you all don't remember, in the not the TG3 Roundtable, my bad, the Pokepod, when I was still a part of that group, we would have discourses about it. Some were good, some were bad, and many people had many different opinions on those episodes. At its best, Pokemon was a really good episode. At its worst, it could be a very bad episode that got really distasteful reviews from a lot of different people. Lumio's trainer Zach, Raph, KG, myself, hell, Terrell in some situations, which the Insane Game Freak, TSS Killer, all of us would have so many differing opinions about it that it led to these back and forth clashes. Whereas Pokemon Horizons, everybody kind of universally has pretty much the exact same opinions on it. Yeah, you got your goods and your bad outliers here and there, but for the most part, everybody more or less thinks Pokemon Horizons is okay. Which is good because that means it's in good hands. That means it's a good series. That means you can watch it. But unfortunately, due to the lack of discourse, this means that there's not much conflict around it on whether it's good or bad. The reason that that was important back in the old series was because there was a lot personally at stake here. This was Ash's journey, and it was being judged on a very critical standpoint. So when most people made comments about it, they made comments very heavily. Fans were passionate about this shit. Nowadays, if an episode flops, it's not even that bad of a flop. Some people just go, it was kind of boring. That's its worst criticism. From what I've seen, that's been Pokemon Horizons' worst criticism. Yeah, you may see some outliers here and there, depending on the passion, but the passion isn't there as much, so obviously the criticism isn't there as much, which means the discourse isn't there as much. And don't get me wrong, I don't think that we should be going around just having toxic discourse throughout the entire community. But I do feel like multiple layers of critical thought, whether they agree or clash, is healthy because it allows people to have an engaging conversation with it. And while it's good that Pokemon Horizons is in a peaceful zone, it also doesn't allow it to break out of that mold. It's almost like I'm saying the community here is playing it safe because the series is playing it safe. There's nothing here that's obstructively bad, but there's also nothing that's extremely good to the point where it's made us go, wow, Pokemon Horizons is shaking the revolution of the anime Pokemon community. At its best, it's good. At its worst, meh. That's pretty much what's been going on. But either way it goes, I've decided that as I review the series, I'm reviewing it the same way I've reviewed Pokemon in general. I'm going through a critical lens, basing this off of the fiction that's in front of me and viewing it as an art style, because that's what it is, and art is subjective. So, with that being said, hopefully we get some more interesting episodes. I want to see these characters grow. I want to see this story break out of its mold of playing it safe so that it can go in depth. It very much feels like even though we're not doing an Ash Ketchum Pokemon series anymore, it's still stuck in its like Pokemon anime ways. And again, kids show, I get it. But Pokemon Horizons also feels like it can take those steps further. It can take those steps outside of its comfort zone and still be appropriate for the entire family to watch. And I hope that later in the series it does that so that we can get some interesting things to talk about. But with that being said, the next episode is episode 35, which I stated already, A Duo in the Wilderness, Freed and Cap. I'll see y'all then, everybody. Tyrone TG3, out.